I'm Anna McNamee. You're listening to the weekend edition of The Strand, global arts and entertainment, brought to you from the BBC World Service. Now, strange coincidence, or what? This year, coinciding with the wave of social and political protests sweeping across North Africa and the Middle East, is the 100th birthday of a novel said by many scholars and diplomats to contain the seeds of popular protest in the Arab world. The novel in question is called The Book of Khalid, and it was the first Arab-American novel to be written in English. Its author, Ameen Rihani, was one of the Arab world's leading intellectuals, and he lived and worked in America. He believed the experience gave him an important insight into the tensions that can exist between the two cultures, between East and West. Now his book is the subject of a campaign that hopes to promote a better understanding of Arab-American relations and the current turmoil in the Middle East. The BBC's Jane O'Brien in Washington found out more.
In the archives of Cairo, among the beautifully illuminated copies of the Quran, a modern Arabic manuscript is found. Rough drawings on the cover of this fictitious work seem to show a New York skyscraper in the shape of a pyramid and a group of dancers entitled The Stockbrokers and the Dervishes. So begins the sly introduction to the Book of Khalid, Ameen Rihani's seminal work and the first Arab-American novel written in English. It's the story of two friends from Lebanon who immigrate to New York and try to reconcile the conflicting values of East and West. After they return to their homeland, Khalid contemplates his experience, which transforms him into a political, religious and social prophet.
First, I would like Americans to learn about the history of the Arab-American immigration. Many people think that Arab immigration to the United States is something new and problematic, but actually the Arab immigration goes back 150 years.
Todd is the director of Project Khalid, an ambitious attempt to promote Rihani's 100-year-old book to a modern American audience.
Rihani, I think, had this sense in the 1920s and 30s that America would become a future force in the world. And the Book of Khalid is about how American values could actually inspire a revolution in the Middle East. In fact, the final scene of the novel occurs with riots in Damascus. And that's why I feel that this moment in time, if we revisit this connection between the United States and the Arab world through Rihani, through the Book of Khalid, we can realize that we don't have tremendous differences.
As part of the book's 100th anniversary celebrations, the Library of Congress is holding this special symposium. There are several Middle East ambassadors here, including Clovis Maqsood, the former Arab League ambassador to the UN. He says Rihani's work provides an intellectual foundation for Arab nationalism and the popular uprising sweeping the region.
I think that his quest for identity, which he ultimately found, is the precursor of the contemporary revival and renaissance in the Arab world at this juncture. The liberal, secular predicates of the Book of Khalid constitutes the formula that the younger generation which has undertaken this renaissance can rely and draw from.
Also here are members of Rihani's family, including his nephew, Ramzi Rihani.
I think the message is bridging East and West. There are more common things between East and West than there are varieties. More so now than ever, despite all what's happening. It's funny, 2 days ago, I read an article talking about the face of Khalid in Tahrir Square, linking what Ameen Rihani called for 100 years ago for the Arab people to revolt against tyranny, to revolt against human rights violations, which is exactly what's happening now. This is why he resonates with not only the Arabs, but the entire world today more than ever.
Rihani believed there could be a strong, mutually beneficial relationship between America and the Arab world, but that the excessive materialism of the one and the religious intolerance of the other were enormous obstacles. In the words of Khalid, "Give me, ye mighty nations of the West, the material comforts of life, and thou, my East, let me partake of thy spiritual heritage. Give me, America, thy hand, and thou too, Asia. Thou land of origination where light and spirit first arose, disdain not the gifts which the nations of the West bring thee. And thou land of organisation and power where science and freedom reign supreme, disdain not the bounties of the sunrise.
From Ameen Rihani's The Book of Khalid, arguably even more topical today than it was a century ago. Jane O'Brien was reporting from Washington.